Hey there, welcome to Craft Central Designs. Today I'm sharing with you my fabric covered character Christmas ornaments. I believe these are Craft Central Designs originals. Oh, so whimsical and cute, and I have never seen any ornaments quite like them. I just love creating a Christmas tree that is uniquely full of ornaments, different and out of the ordinary. Tell me what you think of these ornaments. They're cute, right? I had so much fun creating them. So I'm going to share those with you today. Yet more fabric covered ornaments. I absolutely love covering ornaments with fabric. Welcome to all to my channel today. If you are not currently a subscriber, I hope you will consider becoming one. And as well, please give this tutorial a thumbs up if you enjoy. Share my channel with others if you would. And of course, leave me your comments. Okay, let's get creating. Look at these adorable ornaments. As you can see, I have two different reindeers here. Two different shades of brown, and a snowman. Now, these are covered in the same manner that I covered the previous ornaments in the previous tutorials that I showed you, but I will go over that and review that briefly again, just how I covered those ornaments. These are plastic ornaments. They're the flat, round ones that they carry at Hobby Lobby. I love the size of these, and I love the shape of them. Now, if you can't find them at Hobby Lobby, I have seen them on Amazon, so you might want to try that. Okay, so I purchased 3 different fabrics. Now, I just did not purchase plain fabric. Probably you're not surprised by that. If you follow my channel, you know I love mixing patterns. So I got 3 different pieces of fabric. Even the white has a pattern. And it's just a little basic, I think that one's a little leafy pattern, and the other ones are pretty much the same thing. But it's a very, very small, subtle pattern. And I just love the idea of using that fabric for these character ornaments. I have some pipe cleaners there. Hobby Lobby is the place to go for those. They have nice, sturdy pipe cleaners. I have there some of that covered jute, wired covered jute cord, I guess you could call it, or covered wire. That's from the Dollar Tree. I have some of these rusty bells. They sell these at Hobby Lobby. I also have some jute twine there. And I just gathered together a bunch of this and that, some little pine cones, which you could very well use on the reindeers. And then I went shopping in the ribbon aisle in the sewing department at Hobby Lobby, because every other week it's 40% off, and you never know, I just might need some rickrack. So I got a large rickrack, a small rickrack. I got a red narrow ribbon with white polka dots. No surprise there. And I got another narrow ribbon with white stitching. I was showing you there my little jar of bells. I'm going to be using some bells. And I have here some felt, just little leftover swatches of felt that I had in my stash. I'm going to be creating faces on my ornaments. I have there some 26 gauge wire for wrapping the top of the ornaments, scissors, tacky glue, and of course hot glue. Okay, now I have made these fabric-covered ornaments. Oh, I'm showing you that I have my Google eyes. I have a lot of Google eyes in all different shapes. I decided on 2 of my characters, I'm using those. Also, you're going to need pinking shears. It's not an absolute essential. I'll tell you what you could do if you don't have them. But let's get busy cutting out the fabric here. Now, I already determined that around 11 and a half inches to 12 inches is a really good size to cut out a piece of fabric to cover that particular ornament. Now, I'll measure that ornament and put that in the description box, but it fits pretty much in the palm of your hand. if that helps. But I will give you the circumference and measurement of that ornament in the description box. Now I'm going to cut out, mine I cut out around 11 and a half. Doesn't have to be terribly precise, but nothing certainly under 11 inches. I would go 11 and a half to 12. And I cut out a square of fabric. Now I'm going to take my pinking shears and I'm going to cut this further out. I'm going to round off the corners of the fabric. Again, this does not have to be perfect. The reason why I like pinking shears, is obviously they're decorative in the way that they cut. But also for fabric, if you use pinking shears, it helps to hinder the fraying of the fabric. Now, if you don't have pinking shears, you don't need to run right out and get them unless you really would like to. And those you could find at Walmart. You could find those at Hobby Lobby, and I'm sure Michael's would have them as well. Amazon, of course, that kind of goes without saying. Amazon has everything. At least as far as I'm concerned. Every time I look for something on Amazon, they have it. Okay, so you can see that I'm going around my fabric and I'm creating that pinking sheer edge on there. I'm going to go around the whole entire piece. Now, if you don't use pinking shears, which is what I started to say before, after you get your fabric all on and you have it all gathered up at the top of your ornament, you could just put a little bit of Mod Podge on a paper plate and put the tip of your finger in the Mod Podge and just tap it around the edges of the fabric, and that will seal it. I'm ironing. Nothing new here. I always like all those little crinkles and wrinkles out of my fabric whenever I do a project. Okay, so I got all those wrinkles out of my fabric, and now I'm going to wrap my ornament. Now I pull it up on one side, then I pull it up on the opposite side. Then from there, I hold onto the base of the cap, and I just start bringing in my fabric in as small a gathers as I possibly can. Now, I have another opportunity to straighten all this out. So you basically just want to get all of those sides or pieces of that fabric on all sides pulled up and around the base of the cap. Now, you're not going to be covering up the cap. You're just going to be pulling your fabric up and gathering it. And we're going to be placing a wire around the base of that cap, of the ornament cap. So basically I'm just trying to minimize the bulkiness of my folds. And I'll show you how I can further do that here. Now this just takes a little bit of patience and a few minutes. And if you spend the time doing this and, really apply your effort toward it, you'll get a pretty smooth application of that fabric on your ornament. If you don't, you probably won't. Okay, so once you get it around there pretty good, just go ahead and take a nice big piece of wire and you're going to wrap it around a couple of times and pull it really tight. See how I'm holding on to my ornament and then just pulling that around. Now, it's pretty loose on there right now because we have some work to do here. I'm going to place my fingers at the base of the cap and hold on tightly. Now I'm going to go around my cap and I'm going to pull my fabric straight up and I'm going to improve the appearance of those gathers on that ornament. Now I'm just squeezing everything really tight. I am going to be trimming a lot of that bulk off the top. Once it's gathered, you can do that. Now I put another piece of wire on here. I really kind of overdo the wire because the tighter I have that before I start pulling my fabric, the more effectively I'll be able to pull those gathers and smooth them out. And this part is the part that I'm talking about that you really need to just spend a few minutes. And you want to get any little wires out of the way that's going to poke your fingers. Okay, now I'm going to hold that right there. See how I place my thumb? Right there. I'm showing you. Okay, now I'm going to go around for the entire circumference of my ornament, and I'm going to pull my fabric up nice and taut. If I have any areas with a big bulky gather, I'm going to work on smoothing that out. See how I'm doing that? Just pulling my fabric. Don't even bother trimming the top until you get this part done, because you're going to find you have longer areas and shorter areas. Just wait until you get this done. Now see how I'm pulling? All the while now, I'm holding on to the cap, the base of the cap, and I'm pulling. See, I'm paying a lot of attention to how my gathers look on that ornament. Now, you're going to have gathers. It's inevitable. There's no way you can avoid it, but that's okay, because that contributes to the look of this particular ornament. And it's actually just really super cute and very different and unique. And I just love these fabric covered ornaments. As I said before, the more I do them, the more ideas I have to do them. It just keeps happening. So, I had this idea once I started doing these for these characters, and I just thought, how cute would that be to do characters? So that's what we're doing here today. Okay, now you can see I'm taking my pinking shears and I'm going around and trimming. Don't worry about this part. It doesn't have to be like any, cut super straight or anything like that. You're never going to be able to tell if it's straight or not, because it's all gathered up there on the top. What you just want to do is cut it down as far as you want it. Maybe you like your gathered area up there at the top shorter than I do. That's fine. You could cut it all the way down till just the point where the ring of the cap is. I wouldn't cut it any shorter than that. The idea is to really cover up that cap. But I just continue on just perfecting this part. Now, I did all three of my ornaments, and I'm not going to make you watch me do all three, but I did feel that I should review this part for anyone who's just seeing this ornament for the very first time on my channel. Now, like I said, you can make that shorter, you can make it longer. Maybe later on you might decide to make it shorter, and right now it's okay. I mean, it's never too late, in plain words, to trim it up. It's very easy. Now, after I get all that perfecting of my gathers done, I put one more piece of wire on there, and I really pull that tight. And now that fabric is on there for life, okay? It's not going anywhere. But again, see how I'm going around. I put that last piece of wire on there, but still, I look at my ornament and go, you know what? Let me pull this up a little tighter here, or smooth that out a little bit there. Now, you're going to, inevitably you're going to find one side of your ornament to be more attractive to you than the other. And that's fine, because that's going to be the side you're going to choose to put your face on. Now, try and get as lightweight a fabric as possible. I got my fabrics in the fabric department at Hobby Lobby. I love their wall of fabrics that they have, all the prints. Oh my gosh, such a beautiful selection. So I got mine on sale. Now, another thing that I did here is I went ahead and I cut out a carrot nose. Now, you can do whatever type of carrot nose you want. If you want to look maybe on Pinterest and type in a search for cute snowman faces, it will give you some ideas. Maybe you want a straight line of the nose, or maybe you want a little crooked nose like I did. So I just cut mine out of orange felt. Now, I'm going to also do felt eyes, and I'm going to cut them in the same shape that I paint them. So you can do this any way that you like. You can just do little ovals, you can do circles, or you can use Google eyes. Don't have to use felt eyes at all. It's just what I wanted to try doing it. And I felt that with all the gathers, I really couldn't paint the eyes on. It just wasn't going to be possible. All right, so I have all of my really pretty white printed fabric on there. Now I'm going to take a little piece of trim. It's a snowball trim. How appropriate is that? So I'm going to decide and determine which side of that ornament is my favorite, and I'm going to turn it over on the back and start my trim on the back side, bring it around the front right there. This looks super cute on there. Look how it, just covering up the wire, it's already looking good, right? So I'm going to wrap that around there nice and snug. Love, love this snowball trim. Now, sometimes you could pick this up at the Dollar Tree, but I got mine at Hobby Lobby. I got mine in that same department where I pick up my ribbons in the sewing department. I always wait for the every other week 40% off. And that's what I did this week. Now I can see that I need to do more trimming on the top there. Like I said, I can always do that later, but I see one area there that's poking up a little higher. It's not very even. So I'll take care of that later. That's actually one of the final things I do is my final trim on the top. So I cut out my eyes, and I'm going to, for the mouth, I'm going to do a kind of a squiggly mouth. You could do whatever you like. You could use little tiny black buttons and create like that coal mouth look. Or you could use, you could cut out little tiny felt circles. But I'm going to give mine a funny face. Not surprisingly, I'm going to do that, right? But I also cut out some little whites for the eyes there. Now, this does take a little bit of trial and error. You just have to kind of do it, figure it out, cut it, perfect it, trim it. You know, I had to do a lot of that. But this is the way I wanted to do my eyes, to look somewhat like the eyes that I often create on, for example, my gingerbreads and my reindeers. So I'm going to glue on my felt eyes now. Now, if you want to use the Google eyes, the plastic ones, you know, you could go ahead and do that at this time. I am going to take a paintbrush with a fine point tip and just put a little white in the light of the, a white light in the eye. That's what I'm trying to, good grief, I couldn't get that out. Now I'm going to put my carrot nose on. Now, one thing I did on my carrot nose was gave it a little bit of those lines that are, you know, you always see in carrots, those little lines on the carrot. And I used a very fine point Sharpie to do that. Later on, you're going to see that I'm going to put a little bit of white, Snow White Waverly chalk paint, a little bit tipped on the top of the nose to look like my snowman has snow on his nose. Now, this is a thread that you use for embroidering, or embroidery floss. That's what it's called. Now, I'm just going to take my Aleene's Techie glue, and I'm going to do some squiggle lines in glue, and then I'm just going to drop my embroidery floss or thread right down in it, and I'm going to use my little hook tool that I just love so much and use constantly. Pick that up at the Dollar Tree. And I'm going to lay down my embroidery thread in that little pattern of squiggles that I created with my tacky glue. So yeah, I just felt like doing like a little squiggle mouth. And again, you could do little black buttons, something like that would look cute. Now I'm doing just the main part of the mouth, and then I am going to take a couple of little small pieces to put the little curve on the corners of the mouth. Just pressing that down and placing it right down into the glue. And I think he's super cute. Now, I figured that this was the best way to do this face, being that we don't have a flat surface. So we can't really paint the faces on. But I am going to show you that I did rosy up the cheeks a little bit. Now, I didn't do much of an exaggerated area of rosying up the cheeks, but I just really, really wanted rosy cheeks on my snowman. And I also did it on my lighter colored reindeer. I didn't do it on the dark one. I figured it would just show up anyway. So I'll show you how I did that. But I was very careful and very conservative in the amount of rosy cheeks that I added, but just wanted a little bit there. Now, embroidery floss does fray on the end, so you have to be mindful, to pop the ends down in the glue because they will fray. So now I'm putting the corners of the mouth on, and again, using my glue. Dropping that right in the shape of the curve of the mouth that I want there. And this is a great glue for this because it's very tacky. And it just helps to hold things pretty immediately when it's something like a thread. So yeah, I love Aleene's Tacky Glue. Certainly you would not want to be using hot glue on this task. It's really a necessity to have something like an Aleene's Tacky Glue on hand. Now you will see me later also using my quilling glue dispenser that I use for doing paper art. It has a teeny tiny little tip, and you could do real intricate gluing with it. You'll see me using that later. So yeah, I wanted my snowman to have some cute little eyebrows, and I just used my embroidery thread for that. Just cut a small piece and used my little hook tool to help me position it over the eyes. I'm going to do the other side. See how cute this is coming along? Okay, so now my snowman has eyes and eyebrows and a nose and a squiggly mouth. Okay, so yeah, I wanted to do eyelashes. Okay, you don't have to do all this if you don't want to, honestly. Just, when I do these kind of eyes, when I paint them, I naturally add eyelashes. So I thought, you know what? Let me give it a try here. So I took my embroidery thread, and that's Mod Podge on that paper plate. And I just put it on my fingertips, and I smoothed out the ends of my embroidery floss. And I wanted it to be like a pointy. So that's what I'm doing there with my fingers. So I'm trying to create something that will suffice as eyelashes. And I'm letting that dry right now. And yeah, it looks like I started my pink cheeks. I am going to show you how I did that. But I think I wanted to try one off camera just to make sure it wasn't a disaster. And it wasn't, and I do believe I'll be showing you that. If not on the snowman, I do show it to you on the reindeer. All right, I have this adorable Celebrate ribbon with snowmen on it. Look how cute that ribbon is. It's adorable. I wish it weren't on such a small bow, so I could really show it off. But I'm going to create a really small bow for the top of my ornament. I want everything to be in like a snowman theme. So I was doing my bow in a particular way here, a little bit unusual for me because this is a directional ribbon. And if I do it in the same manner that I always do my fold over and pinch in the center method, the snowman on some of the loops will be upside down. So yeah, I have to really be mindful of that kind of directional ribbon. So I just folded my loops in accordance to the direction of that ribbon. Okay, so I'm going to leave a little bit of a tail on there, and I managed to get all of my loops with my snowmen facing the right direction. Now, you could use all kinds of different types of ribbon on this. You could use any kind of snow flake print ribbon. That would be cute. Whatever you like. If you want it more rustic, you could use a jute twine. You could use a little narrow burlap ribbon if you want to do it more farmhouse rusticy. Okay, so I do have a snowflake ribbon. I have a snowflake ribbon from Hobby Lobby. It's a narrow ribbon, and I wanted to add some color other than the carrot nose. So I'm just going to create a loopy bow. My figure 8 method, I fold it under, fold it over, pinch it in the center, and I did, I believe, 3 loops on each side or 6 loops all together. Okay, well, I don't know what happened there. I just decided to start over. Okay, here I am starting over. And I decided I'm going to put a white snowflake in the center of that bow. So I'm doing my figure 8, folded over, folded under method, pinching it, holding it tightly in the center. This is a super easy way to do this. There's all different types of methods of creating bows, and you have to find the ones that are comfortable for you. Some people wrap the twine or the ribbon around their fingers, spread their fingers apart and do that, and then tie it a particular way. This is the way I do it. I find this the easiest and most effective method. So I created 3 loops on each side, or 6 loops altogether. I'm taking a piece of 26 gauge wire, pulling it super, super tight in the center to gather up the center of that bow, twisting it tightly on the back, and I will cut off the excess. I'm going to be gluing a snowflake right in the center. So see, we're staying all in this snowflake, snowman theme here. Hot gluing that right in the center. And then I'm just going to glue that to the other bow as well. Now I'm going to be placing this in the upper left side of my ornament, gluing it right in the area of that pom-pom trim. So I've added some color here with my red ribbon. I have the red and green on the bow, and I have my carrot nose. So I really wanted this ornament to have some color. I didn't want it to be just all white and bland. And then I'm also going to add a cord hanger. Super cute. Okay, so yeah, I am showing you the cheeks right here. So I'm dipping it in red. Now you want to be very careful on this part. Always your objective is on the front side of your ornament where you know your face is going to be, to try and get that as smooth as you possibly can with a minimal amount of gathers. So I was able to do that and take a small area, and I was very careful on this part to be very light-handed with my brush. I brush off my paint on my brush till it's almost gone, till it's almost like a pink. And then with a swirling motion, I just put pink cheeks on there. Just careful. I worked around the carrot, and I found this to be very easy to do. I was a little bit apprehensive about trying to do it with the gathers, But honestly, it turned out super cute. If I needed to, I went down in the crevices just to have a continuation of, I usually do my cheeks in kind of a circular shape. And now I got my pink cheeks just like I wanted. Okay, I believe it's time to put the light in the eye. I had a little trouble saying that before, but I got it out just fine this time. Okay, I'm going to take a fine point paintbrush and I'm going to dab a little white circular light in the eyes. And that always just does something wonderful for a piece. Something about the white light in the eye. So don't forget that part. And the snowman is coming along very nicely. Now I'm putting the snow, if you will, just dabbing a little bit of Snow White Waverly chalk paint on the, not in any particular manner, just dabbing it here and there. Anywhere where you would imagine that snow would be landing on that snowman's nose. This was a nice little touch, along with those little black delineation lines in the carrot. Details, my friends, details. You really need to pay attention to the details. Now I am going to put some eyelashes on there. And I'm going to make sure to have my hook tool handy. And I am going to use, I believe that I'm going to use my quilling glue applicator to do that. Because I think the nozzle on my Aleene's Tacky is going to be a little bit too big. I think I need something smaller. And I think I probably realized that because I think I just went to get my quilling glue applicator. Now, if you would like to have an applicator like this that I'm going to be showing you, it has the tiniest tip and it enables you to do very tiny gluing tasks. I absolutely love it. You put Elmer's glue, just pour Elmer's glue down inside of there. You screw the cap back on. I keep a straight pin in the top of mine to keep it from clogging up. And this is going to be the perfect tool. I am coming back, I promise. I think I was getting the applicator. And I'm going to be using that. And what I do here is just kind of take that tip. There's my applicator. Oh, these are awesome to have on hand. These are, I think that Hobby Lobby carries these, and I believe it would be in the department like around where the paper crafts are. If not, I believe I have gotten mine on Amazon before. So just put in a search for that quilling glue bottle applicator and you should be able to get it. All right, so I'm taking my little eyelashes that are dry now. And I'm obviously going to have to trim these up because I cut them pretty long. And yeah, I'm going to be placing those on there. Now, yeah, this is you might think, wow, that's really a tedious task. But it really wasn't so bad, honestly. And you know, I really don't mind that. I'll go the extra amount of tedious, if you will, if I believe in the outcome is going to be just what I want. And in this case, it was. And I loved the eyelashes on my snowman. Now, once I have that inserted, I just kind of pushed it underneath the felt eye itself. I put the eyelash up next to the eye, and then I took my little hook tool and pushed the eyelash under the felt eye a little bit. And yeah, I can trim it up once it's on there as well. Now you want to try and get your eyelashes pointy on the end so they look, as authentic as possible. But remember, you've got that glue applicator so you can control the direction. Whoops, there goes one of my eyelashes, just came off. You can control the direction or the curvature of each of the lashes just by putting the glue on there. Okay, now you can see they look really cute, right? At least I think so. I'm creating a hanger, but I'm not doing it with my red cord this time. I'm doing it with my narrow ribbon because it's got those snowflakes on it. I thought it was just super perfect. Now, what am I doing here? Obviously, I had a brain cramp because I was tying a knot in the bottom of my ribbon. Why was I doing that? I hadn't even inserted it in the ring of the cap of the ornament. So you see, doesn't matter how long you've been crafting, you still, have your moments where you're like, why did I do that? And so I got to this point and I thought, oh, yeah, okay, Dwayne. Good job. Okay, so now I'm doing it over. So now I'm actually going to do it correctly. And I'm going to create a teardrop about the length that I think that I want it. Cut that off with my scissors. Then I'm going to poke it through the ring. Yes. Poke it through the ring of the cap. Then I'm going to tie a knot in the ribbon. And then I'm just going to feed it through the ring and conceal that knot underneath all of those gathers on the top. And then I'll have a nice pretty little red hanger with snowflakes, which goes very perfectly with my snowman head. Now I'm going to put this on a traditional tree that I'm doing for the quantum house. Now I think I did trim up the top of that because it's bugging me. I could see that fabric up on top there needs to be trimmed a little bit. So I'm sure I did that afterward. Okay, so I am going to put that bow on there. And so I put a nice big blob of glue on the back. And I'm going to shove it up right against that pom-pom trim and the gathers at the top there. And I'm going to push it nice and firm in there. So I have it facing the side, making sure it's not covering up any of that cute little face that I created, especially those eyelashes. We can't have that after all that work. And then I'm going to trim everything up. And this is pretty much it for this ornament. It is just super cute. I love it. I love the printed fabric. See how when you mix your prints, how it gives you that added visual interest. So I have quite a few patterns going on there between the ribbons and the fabric. Super cute. On to the next reindeer. All right, so I am going to double up my pipe cleaners. So I started just twisting them around each other, but I left an area at the bottom about 2.5 inches. And this is going to be the little area where I'm going to see right there. You see that? See how I left that open and I didn't twist that part? That's going to wrap around the cap and it's going to conceal that wire. Okay, then I'm going to take another one, which is going to be my 2 shorter antlers. I always do 3 antlers. I'm not sure why. I just always do. Now, for this one, you can twist it all the way up for the entire pipe cleaner. Now, this is just helping to thicken up that pipe cleaner for the antlers. Pipe cleaners are so wonderful to work with. Oh my gosh. I don't know what I would do without them. Now I'm going to take a dowel, and I believe this one came from the Dollar Tree. It's a little bit bigger in circumference than a pencil. You could use a pencil, or maybe you have something else that you could use, but this dowel works really, really well. I like the circumference of it for creating my antlers. Now, I just like to do squiggles Maybe you have a way that you like to do your antlers, and that's fine. Bend them in whatever way that you like. It's your reindeer. This is the way I like to do it. It's just kind of fun and whimsical. Now I'm going to take that full-size piece. I'm going to shape it into a V, twist it at the base where that area is where I started twisting my first pipe cleaner. I'm just going to wrap it around itself. So there we have my 2 other antlers. So I have 3 altogether. Now I'm just going to curl those. Now you can trim those up later. Once you decide if you want them long and crazy and fun and whimsical, you could do that. If you want them shorter, you could do that. You could do whatever you like. Okay, so you see I still have those tails there. And now what you're going to see me do is press those antlers right up to the side of my ornament, and I'm going to be able to wrap those pipe cleaners around the cap or the wire. I'm going to show you this one more time. This is for my primary antler. See how I keep it open? I want to say it's about 2.5 to 3 inches. Somewhere around there. Then I'm going to twist the remainder of those 2 pipe cleaners together like that. Then I'm going to take 2 more, twist those together. Then I'm going to shape that into a V, and that's going to represent the 2 other antlers. That's providing if you want 3 antlers. If you want only 2, just cut a smaller piece. V shape. Then right at the area where the tails start, I guess you could say. See how I'm wrapping that around the main stem? Gosh, this is so easy. Can't even tell you how easy this went. It just was such an easy project. All right, so I was pointing there. That's going to go wrap around the ornament. Now I'm going to go ahead and do my coiling or squiggling, whatever it is you want to call it. Now I'm just going to go ahead and coil those up and then again trim it up later. All right, now I have my 2 antler pieces. See how easy that was? Now I'm just going to open up those pipe cleaners at the bottom where you have those 2 tails, and I'm going to press that up against the wire and the fabric, that gathered fabric on top. I'm going to determine where the front of my ornament is. Remember, you're always going to have a best side. So determine where the face is and decide where the front of your ornament is. All right, see how I push that up in there right next to the gathers and on top of the wire. Now I'm taking those tails, wrapping it around the wire. Now I'm able to completely hide that wire, which is very unsightly there on that dark brown fabric. This fabric was really, really super cute. I don't know how much it was per yard. I can't remember. I saw it. I liked it. I didn't even look at the price. So it was on sale. So I think it was 30 or 40% off. So yeah, so I'm just wrapping those tails around that wire using hot glue. Now on dark fabric, you want to be careful not to drop your glue too much on your fabric because it will show and it's hard to get it off once it's on there. So be careful if you have a dark fabric. Again, I'm pressing the base of my antlers up. I opened up that kind of V-shaped bottom with the tails of my pipe cleaners. See them poking out? Those are going to wrap around again. And that's going to be fine, just like that. Okay, so I'm continuing to glue those tails down, wrapping it around the base, completely covering up that wire. And that's how I'm holding on my antlers, and they are on there very well. They're not going anywhere. Now, how you shape your antlers, how long you have your antlers, that's completely up to you. How short, whether you want them straighter or longer and kind of crazy like mine, that's up to you. You do you. This is a fun project, and you could just be creative and make it as personal as you like it. This one has a lot of cute little features about it. And again, there's that hook tool. When I tell you, I utilize that like nobody's business. Oh my goodness. If I didn't have that right there on my table, I would be lost. I would have to like use toothpicks or something. Yeah, so definitely pick up one of those if you don't have one. All right, so I've got my antlers on there. Now I'm not going to worry too much about their length or anything right now. I did cut them off just a little bit right away. Now, as far as my antlers are concerned, okay. Now, we have a lot of basically dark going on this ornament so far, as you can see. It's a dark brown, but that's really what I wanted. So I'm going to find ways to add pops of color on this ornament. And one of the ways that I figured was to place, there's my other one. I have a light one and a dark one, a light reindeer and a dark reindeer. Was to put teeny tiny little red bells on the antlers. So you're going to see me do that in a little while. But right now I'm going to use some of my Google Eyes, which I love these. They're so much fun to use. I have oval ones. You can use round ones. You can use big ones, small ones, whatever it is you like. And I'm going to tilt my oval. I call them Google Eyes. I don't know what you guys call them. But these are the plastic eyes. They're so easy to find. Walmart, Hobby Lobby, Michael's, Amazon. You'll have no problem finding them. So I tilted them a little bit. Now, I'm not putting eyelashes on these because the fabric is so dark, I don't think you would ever be able to see them anyway. And you're going to see me put this little pom-pom on here. And it's one of those pom-poms with the tinsel. So it's kind of a crazy little nose that I'm putting on here because it's a round pom-pom with these little tinsely pieces sticking up out of it. So it really adds to the whimsical. So I put my nose on there, and I love that it's got that little sparkle to it. And I'm just going to press that down and make sure it's glued down very well. Just like that. Now look, this reindeer is starting to acquire some definite cuteness. I love those pipe cleaners. Those pom-poms. They're really fun. You could get those at Hobby Lobby, by the way. Okay, so I have that rustic bell that I showed you at the onset. I'm going to take some narrow jute twine, and I'm going to tie that bell. Tie that jute onto the bell. I'm going to be hanging this rusty bell from one of the antlers of my reindeer. And I just thought this would look cute. And again, I'm going for like whimsical, cute, just a super adorable looking reindeer. So I'm going to decide about how long I want that jingle bell to hang down, and then I'm going to tie a little knot in my jute twine. And then what I'm simply going to do later, not immediately, but later, is I'm going to place that onto the antler, and I'll put a little dab of glue there to hold it, and that rusty jingle bell is going to be hanging down from the antler. It's going to look super cute like that. Oh, yeah. This is a very this would be great on like a rustic theme tree, a farmhouse tree, a tree with a lot of country field type ornaments. Or a traditional tree. I just think it's cute anywhere, to tell you the truth. I love it. This would be cute on a really small, as a center, on a really small, hanging down the center of a really small wreath, as a center insert. Okay, so I have this, it's not, I don't know if it's really burlap, but it's this fabulous ribbon that I absolutely love. This particular one came from Michael's in a multi-pack, but it feels like burlap, and it's the most compliant ribbon. I absolutely love this ribbon. I'm going to create a little 4-loop bow. It leaves some tails on there. And I'm going to wrap wire around it and pull it super tight and gather it up really, really tight in the center. I'm going to be placing a red jingle bell. Now, it's not the same size as the jingle bell that's hanging from the ear, and it's also not the same size as the little teeny tiny red jingle bells that I'm going to be placing on the antlers. Now, I guess you could say this reindeer has a jingle bell theme to it because I really played on the jingle bells on this piece. So I'm snipping off my excess wire, and I'm going to place that right underneath the antler, at the base of the antler, and it's going to look so cute sitting up there with the jingle bell on it, of course, which I have not done yet. Okay, so I'm going to take out my jingle bells. And first of all, I'm going to see how many of those little teeny tiny jingle bells that I had in this jar. I really wasn't sure. I wanted to make sure that I had enough to kind of just place here and there on the antlers on each side. So I wanted to be sure that I had enough. And I ended up placing about 6 of those little jingle bells on each antler. Well, actually, each side on the antlers. So I placed them on all 3 antlers on each side, and I just kind of spread them out. I didn't want them solid on there, just a little hint of jingle bells here and there. But it also added a little bit of color to the top of those jingle bells. So I'm going to, again, use my little glue applicator. I'm going to put this tiny dot, see the little tiny dot of glue? And I'm going to pop my jingle bell right down into that glue. And that's going to dry and hold those on very well. Again, that's Elmer's glue that's inside of there. I've never tried putting tacky in there. It's rather thick, so I don't really think that would probably work. So I use Elmer's glue because I naturally use that little applicator when I'm doing paper craft or quilling. So obviously Elmer's glue is going to be great for that. But I find in general crafting that it works for many, many purposes. So definitely worth picking up one of these. I'm going to eventually, when things slow down here a bit, eventually I'm going to do a video on the must-haves for crafting tools and things to have in your stash so that you have what you need once you start creating a project. And that is going to be on my list for sure. So notice how I'm placing my little jingle bells in like little curvatures of the antlers. So I just popped them right up on top of there. All right, now I'm going to take my hot glue gun and I'm going to put my red bell in there. Now this one is obviously a little bit bigger than those little teeny tiny ones that I used on the antlers. What else could you use on the antlers? Well, if you had some little tiny snowflakes. Now I have another something else that I do have done on a few different reindeer type projects through the years. At Hobby Lobby, in the area, in the crafting section, where they have a lot of like little little things that you put on a miniature tree. Well, they have this string of, they're faux lights, obviously, but they're little teeny tiny lights on a string. And I love to take those and just kind of get them, create that look like the Christmas tree lights got tangled in the antlers. Now, I thought about doing that on this one, but I'm actually saving those for another project. But just so you know, that's a really, really cute look to string those little lights and make it look like the reindeer got caught in a string of Christmas lights in the antlers. Then that's a super cute look. Okay, so on goes my bow. Upper left, pushed right up against the base of the antler. I want to be sure that it's not going near the eyes of the reindeer. Okay, I'm loving that one. And here we go, number 3. Now, this is the light-colored reindeer. Now, I thought I was going to use that little red gem. Those are from the Dollar Tree. They have those in like the section with like the floral foam and all that. They come in a bag. And sometimes they're great for a reindeer nose. And I thought they were going to be for this, but you know what I ended up doing? I wanted to stay with the softness of the fabric look. So what I decided to do was make my own red pom-pom out of yarn. All right, so what am I doing here? I am making eyelashes. So I cut a little piece, a little kind of a rectangular piece of black felt. And then I just cut a couple of snips through it to create a section of eyelashes. And I'm going to put that on the upper corners of my eye. Now you can adjust the length of them or even the shape of the lashes, however you like. You need to have sharp scissors for this, by the way. But I just created a little grouping of eyelashes. Now this is different than I did on my other one where I used embroidery floss. This one I just did with felt. It turned out pretty cute, if I do say so myself. Okay, so I am just going to be gluing those little sections of eyelashes on the upper rounded corner of the eye. So I put a little dab of glue on there. I'm going to pop it right to the back of the eye, just like that. This is so easy, you guys. And if you don't get it right the first time, just cut another one. You know, this is how you get good at crafting. Trial and error. Figuring things out. And here goes my other eyelash on here. So now this reindeer has eyelashes. But you're actually going to be able to see them on this one because the fabric is very light in color. And I figured it was, not going to show up at all on that brown. So I didn't even bother. Giving my eyelashes a little trim here. This is where those sharp, sharp scissors come into play. And later on, you're going to see me put the pom-pom on there. I didn't show you how I created the pom-pom. Hopefully you know how to do that. I didn't include that in this video. However, I did include it on a recent video. But what you could use instead, if you don't want to make your own pom-pom, is just get a pom-pom at the craft store in a package. The pom-poms are in the aisle with the pipe cleaners at Hobby Lobby. I could tell you that for sure, and I believe the same holds true for Michael's. All right, I have this jute-covered wire. I have a love-hate relationship with this. It's great for certain things, great for making antlers, but it really, really wants to unravel off of that wire. So you have to be very careful. Once you cut it, I put a little dab of glue there, let it cool for just a second, and then I twist it just like that. If you don't do this, I promise you it's going to come off of the wire. So I cut my main antler. I want to say maybe it's about 8 inches. Then I'm going to cut a couple of smaller ones because I like to have my antlers in threes. So one taller one, two little bit shorter ones. And here we go, because I'm telling you have to do this part. Very important. Let it just cool for a second or two. Then twist it and make sure that that's sitting well on the wire on the end. Try not to handle your wires any more than you have to, because they will start to unravel off of that wire. Like I said, love-hate relationship. I always have it in my stash because it works so well on like projects, like rustic types of projects. That theme, it goes very, very well with that. So I'm using my dowel again, coiling up all of my antlers. Again, I have one longer one, two shorter ones. Once you put them on the reindeer head, you can trim them up any way you want. But remember, when you do, to close off the end with hot glue. I promise you, it's going to be a necessity. Okay, see that wire there? That's what you have to be sure is covered up. It's a good heavy wire, so it really works well with projects, but oh my goodness, it really wants to come off of that wire really bad. So you end up with a lot of hot glue on your fingertips, but it's worth the efforts. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It really, really sticks to your fingers. Okay, but makes great antlers. And I think that this is perfect for this reindeer ornament. So what I'm going to do here is attach those 3 antlers together. I'm going to use my needle nose pliers at the base of the antler. I'm going to figure out the best way to kind of wrap and coil that around the main antler, twisting it, using my needle nose pliers to help me really get that tight. If I need to, I put a dab of glue. Yep. As I mentioned, you really have to keep your eye on this jute cord. But again, just love hate. I don't know what else to say about it. But it's going to stick really, really well to that jute cord that I wrapped around that gathered area at the top of the ornament. I did not show you that part, but I just used a nice narrow jute cord. I wrapped it around about 5 times, attached it at the back to keep the seam of the cord in the back. Now I'm going to take my antlers that I created, push it right up against that cord, and those two are going to marry up very well and very effectively to hold those antlers on there. It will hold very beautifully. Now, you can see this coming together. Very cute. Now, I did not put a lot on these antlers. I felt that they were pretty attractive on their own, but I did hang a red bell this time. Not the rusty bell, but you could use the rusty bell if you wanted to. Maybe you want to do a light fabric one and use the rusty bell. Yeah, you do you. Or you could hang a larger red bell. I'm just doing a smaller one. So I'm just cutting off my excess wire there. And I'm sure I'm going to put a little dab of glue there. Because once you get accustomed to using this covered wire, this jute cord covered wire, you'll get into the habit. It's automatic. You're going to start just doing it, just always sealing the ends. Now you're going to see me burn the heck out of my finger here in just a second. I put a big blob of glue there, and I stuck my finger, ouch, ouch, that hurt, right into the glue. Instead of placing it on the antler, I stuck my index finger in the hot glue. Oh boy, you could tell it's hurting. Yeah, well, it happens sometimes, but you know what? I rarely get burnt with hot glue because I think I've just been working with it for so many years that I've almost outsmarted it and figured out like how fast or how soon can I touch it, or whatever. But that time I missed it. Yeah, I completely blew it on that one. So, yeah, enough about my finger in the hot glue. But cutting off my excess wire. And now I have my antlers on. Oh, they're so cute. And I love that jute cord that's covering up that wire. See how finished that looks? Now, obviously, I need to do something. Some of those antlers are like, whoa, really long. So here's where you see me go ahead and glue that red little plastic or acrylic stone, whatever it is. And I thought initially that's going to be cute, but I decided I really wanted my nose much bigger. And so, yeah, so I just made myself a little pom-pom out of this pretty red yarn that I used to make pom-poms before. I believe I did I did show you how I do that. So if you follow my channel, you probably already seen it. Okay, so I'm going to take my little eyes. I used ovals again. I prefer the ovals, but the round are just fine if you like that. Okay, so paying attention to where my eyelashes were, I placed my eyes on with hot glue. Oh boy, it's starting to get cute. It's going to become even more cute after you see the little pom-pom I created with the red yarn. Okay, so underneath the antler on the upper left side, as you see it there, I'm going to just create a string bow, a jute string. It's a very narrow, a jute cord, jute string, whatever you want to call it. I thought I was going to use that ribbon, and I didn't. But what I decided to do was do a kind of a loopy figure 8 bow just out of that jute cord or jute twine. And then I have a wood finish snowflake that I'm going to put in the center of that jute cord or string bow. It's going to be super cute. Yeah, so I'm just going to just do that. And I do this... I do this in the figure 8. Now, I started using this jute twine that was on this roll that you see on the table, but it was just unruly. It had its own idea of where the bends were going to be. So I said, no, can't have that. So I went and I got another one. And this one was more straight. And so I, once again, started creating a loopy bow. I created, I don't want to say maybe 4 or 5 loops on each side. I don't recall exactly. But this is just my figure 8 method of creating a bow. And I just create my loops, pinching it in the center, holding it tightly. And I just wanted a nice big loopy jute cord bow. Looks like I did maybe 4 or maybe 5 loops. Doesn't matter, you do you, whatever you like. You could also, if you wanted to create kind of a messy bow, you could use very narrow strips of fabric and incorporate like maybe some jute twine in it as well. And you could make a very messy bow, but a small one. And then you could put the snowflake in the center of that. Just trying to give you different ideas. I mean, you do you. However you want to do it. I'm using a little piece of wire to wrap around and pull that nice and tight, twist it in the back, and snip off the excess. Now this is going to go right up on the upper left-hand side. snipping off. I don't even put tails on this. It's just straight loops. That's it. I actually cut the tails off. I didn't want them hanging down. And then I'm going to take and put it right up there, and it's going to look so cute there. Now, I thought about the red ribbon, and I said, no, not going to do that. Not. It's a cute ribbon. It's actually a Walmart ribbon. But I said, no, I just didn't think those stripes fit. I decided to keep it simple and just do the loopy cord bow. So I was deciding, I had a couple of different snowflakes there. I believe those snowflakes came in a little, kind of like a compartmentalized container in the Christmas section at Hobby Lobby. I like to have all kinds of snowflakes on hand. I have everything you can imagine. I have a big bag of snowflakes. I'm sure you're not surprised by that, right? Okay, so I'm going to take my bow and I'm going to press it right up at the base of the antler and then attach it right to that wrapping of that jute twine. And the bow's going to be kind of facing forward, but it's on the upper left side. And I just think that, how you position your bows on pieces makes a big difference. So I always make it a point to express that to you. Like, how did I place mine? Okay, so I'm going to put a little piece of that narrow jute cord through my bell. I'm going to tie a knot to secure it. Actually, a double knot, actually a square knot. When I want a knot to be flat, I do a square knot. So I tie it one way, and then I tie it the opposite way. I was a macrameer, so I know a square knot. Okay, and so now I have a nice little square knot there, holding that bell. And I'm going to do exactly the same thing I did with my rusty bell. I'm going to have that hanging, but I'm going to do a little test here to see how long I want it to be. And then I'm going to tie a little knot in that. And that's going to hang on the antler. And I'll put a little dab of glue on the antler when I decide exactly where I want it to hang. But I am doing this one on the upper left. So you see how I kind of balance everything out. I have my bow, I'm sorry, on the upper right. On my bow is on the left, and I put my jingle bell on the right. So yeah, I always think about balance and symmetry on projects. So this is my way of balancing that out. I'm going to snip off the excess. Now, I am going to do a couple more things on this ornament. I do have to create a hanger. I believe I did that with that red cord that I'm so crazy for from Hobby Lobby. That way I brought a little bit of color to the top of the ornament. Now, my cap is all ready and for me to place that hanger on there. So this time I was, really smart, craft smart, and I stuck my cord through there, unlike I did with my ribbon. All right, now I decide how long I want it, pull it through, pull a nice tight knot, cut off the excess cord, and then I'm going to pull it through the cap ring and leave that knot concealed underneath that fabric. So I have a nice clean hanger just like that. I like the red hanger on this piece. But still, not happy with that nose. So going to take care of that here with my red pom-pom. Now I'm probably, figuring out what I want to do with these antlers here because my hand is kind of out of frame. But just probably thinking here. I'm sure that's what I'm doing. And I am going to rosy up the cheeks on this one because I thought, okay, I'm going to leave it alone. But, that didn't happen. So here's my little pom-pom. Look how pretty. This is the prettiest red yarn. So I just cut a little, made a little pom-pom. Well, it's not really little, but I like a big nose. So I'm going to place that on there. Now, I thought I was just going to be able to pop it right on top of that red piece there that I originally put on it, but no, it just didn't happen that way. I ended up peeling off that red piece and putting the nose on. It just was too bulky on there. So I actually glued the yarn nose down. All right, so here I am. Last minute, you could see I was just getting ready to stage my ornaments, and I said, oh gosh, I just really need to put some red cheeks on there, or pink cheeks. So, I was careful in the way I did it. I kind of separated my gathers a little bit. Again, be very careful on this part, because you've come this far. You don't want to be sorry that, once you wrap that fabric on there, just always be careful what you do so you don't have to backtrack. But you see, I just put little ones, and nothing major, but look how cute it is. All right, so here you have it. All 3 ornaments. I love them. I actually have more ornaments coming up. No, they're not fabric ornaments, but they're different, and I think you're going to like them. I also have 2 big, gorgeous Christmas wreaths coming up. Wait till you see them. All right, remember to subscribe. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed. Share this video with your friends. And let me know which one of these is your favorite. Or maybe if you plan to make them. I'd love to know that too. Okay, until next time, you all take care.